Hello, hello. I was just making myself chuckle over here. Amusing myself before I hit live. Here we are. Let me check as ever that I'm here. I'm not just broadcasting into the void. Let me tag everyone so you know where I am, so you can find me. Because Facebook can be a little bit mysterious sometimes. If you are joining live, please do say hello in the comments. Let me know that you can see and hear me. If you're watching the replay, use the hashtag replay. And how are we doing today? Day 3 of how to write a book people really want to read. So this is the final day of the training, of kind of the workshoppy part of the process. I will be doing one more live actually next Monday, which will be a dedicated Q&A. So any questions that you've got bubbling up, if we don't speak to them today during this session, then I will be back on Monday to answer any questions related to your book writing process. So anything you've got. And there are some questions that have already been asked here in the group and via email, so I will speak to those, and also any questions that come up between now and Monday. So let me just see. I'm just going to check on my phone because sometimes comments don't come up on my desktop, which I think is what is happening. Oh dear, it's so mysterious. So, hey, MJ, Hazel, and you're excited to be watching live for the first time today. Yeah, I'm excited you're here as well. So, I wonder, is this going to work? I'm going to pop my phone. Oh my goodness. Uh, I am propping my phone up on my laptop. Deary me. Feels like that might end in tears, but we will see if everything is going to stay positioned. Um, so yeah, let's see. I think that's going to work. Anyway, how are we feeling? How are we feeling? Um, Eloise, you haven't quite caught up with all of yesterday's replay yet. It's all good. It's all good. Like, this is not a linear process. Um, and I trust that you are always seeing what you need to see in any particular moment. And you can kind of go back. The recordings will stay here. They're here in the group. They're also on my YouTube channel, which is at Nicola Humber. So you'll be able to go back to them. This group will remain open until next Tuesday. And then we'll archive the group. You'll still be able to see the content. You just won't be able to comment. Um, yeah. So how are we feeling? Give me one word. I asked this yesterday as well. Interesting to see maybe how it has shifted or not. That describes how you are feeling about your book writing journey right now as we come to day 3 of this process. Like, what is the main way that you are feeling about your book and your onward journey? I am gonna, as you do that, pop it in the comments. Like I said, whether you are here live or accessing the recording, it's all good. I'm going to share the card. Um, Magical Callie, you're inspired. Love that. Love that. Totally here for the inspiration. I am going to share the card that I pulled for us today, which is this one. Interesting one. Judgments. Judgments. So let me read the message from this one. Again, it's from Tara Jackson's amazing Embodied Wisdom deck, which we actually released through the Unbound Press. Tara is one of our amazing authors. So let me read the message. Judgments. Life is filled with duality, good and bad, up and down, dark and light, night and day. All parts make up the human existence and allow us to fully appreciate the cyclical, transient nature of life. Do you ever judge the parts that don't feel so good? Where can you gently let go of your judgments and welcome in both sides? So that feels like it really relates to what we were speaking about yesterday when we were talking about any fears or doubts that may be bubbling up for you around your book writing journey, and how rather than judging those and making them mean that we're wrong in some way or that we shouldn't be on this path of the transformational author, we kind of welcome them into the process. Like, as we're welcoming all parts of ourselves into the process, we bring it to the page, we alchemize them, and we know that by acknowledging them, writing about them, that we get to create a deeper connection, sense of connection with ourselves and also with our reader. And I love, some of the shares around like yesterday's session, and how, the invitation was to pick a specific fear or doubt that's bubbling up for you and to like write about that, to reflect on it, and to ask the question, like, where is the gold here? Like, where is there potential here for me to connect more deeply with my reader? And we're going to be talking more about your reader today and the journey you're taking them on. So that's what we were talking about yesterday. Obviously, on day one, we were talking about your story, your unique experience, everything that's brought you to this point. And the invitation was to really bring more you into your writing. Like, that's where the magic is, that's where the medicine is. And today, like I said, we're talking more about the reader, the journey you're taking your reader on. So, Hazel, you're feeling motivated, amazing, and less pressure. 2 words, it's okay, we're unbound. You can totally break the rules. And you say that card is right on time. They so often are. They so often are. So, before we dive in to today, talking about your reader and how to create a deeper sense of connection with them, so your book really does become one that they can't wait to read and that has a huge impact on them. Because we are on day 3, I want to let you know about a possible next step. So you will have realized through what I've been sharing and how I've been sharing over the last few days, that the unbound approach to writing a book is quite different from a lot of the other approaches out there. And it really is about going on this transformational journey. Like, we're not rushing to know, we're not rushing to get the book done. It's like, how can I have the most powerful experience as I'm writing my book? Like, how can I become more of who I am, more of who I'm here to be through the process of writing? And because of that, I personally believe that it's really important, or it can be really important, really beneficial to have some kind of space held for you through the process. And, everything I've been talking about this week is really through the lens of community. Like, creating in community is so, so powerful. You would have got a taste of it this week. Like, seeing other people's comments, that's sparking off something in you, letting you know you're not alone in whatever you're experiencing is so, so powerful. So because of that, I'm really passionate about holding space for the book writing journey, holding space for creativity in community. So if you have loved these last 3 days, of course, we're not finished yet, we're still going to move into day 3. But if you have found this powerful, I invite you to come and join us in my group program, which is called Birth Your Transformational Book. So some of you watching this are already part of it. But this is like what I would suggest as your next step. If you know that you want to move forward, complete your book, release it into the world, over the next 12 months, Birth Your Transformational Book is a 12-month container where you get access to trainings designed to take you through every step of the book writing journey, the book birthing journey. So we start with like conceiving the specific book that you're here to write. So we touched on that on Monday, where we talked about, yeah, your unique experience. Thanks, Hazel. You're saying you highly recommend it. It's fantastic. Well, I'm really delighted you're part of it. Eloise, join us. It's not a goal. It's not. It's so much more fun when we go together. So we start with conceiving your book, like you get to connect with the actual essence, spirit, energy of your book as well. And we talk about your mission, your intention for writing your book. There's trainings there on how to actually be in the creation mode. So we talk more about the reader journey, which I'm going to be talking about today. We talk about storytelling and that process of alchemizing your fear and doubt, which we touched on yesterday. And then the third phase of Birth Your Transformational Book is all about completion. So actually bringing your book together, using beta readers or harnessing the power of beta readers, and also publishing your book and releasing it into the world. And also what we will be doing over the summer, we're going to have a special training all around launching your book as well. So if that sounds good to you, we are offering some special bonuses, like to celebrate this week that we've had together, that we have together, where one of those is when you sign up before Monday, May the 20th at 5 p.m. UK time, you get a special credit which you can then use towards either a publishing package with the Unbound Press, or if that's not for you, you can use that to get a year's membership of the Abundant Author Academy membership. So let me put the link in the comments so you can just have a sneaky look if it calls. Whilst we are here together, but I will also send out details afterwards and pop it in the group afterwards. Okay, so I wanted you to know what's next, because you know, I know this can feel, it can feel edgy, it can feel super powerful, it can bring up all the feels when we are in this process, and certainly starting out on the journey of writing a transformational book. So having some support in place, yeah, I want you to know that's available to you. Anyway, let's move into the day 3 content, where we are talking about how to connect with your most soul aligned readers and create a book that takes them on a truly transformational and healing journey. So all the way through so far, we have been talking about like allowing yourself to go on this transformational journey as you write your book. And like that in itself will clear the way for your reader to experience transformation as they are connecting with your book. But how we can help that process is to be really intentional about the journey you're taking your reader on. Okay. So where they're going to be at the beginning of the process when they come to your book, why they're drawn to your book in the first place, and where you want them to be as they come to the end of your book, and how you actually get to take them on that journey. So your book, like you can think of your book as this bridge between like one particular landscape, territory that your reader is on at the beginning, and where you want them to be when they come to the end of it. Like you're taking them from one place to another with your writing. So we want to be really, really intentional about that. A lot of people, like book coaches, experts, would recommend like starting with your reader. Okay, so having this really clear idea of your ideal reader right at the beginning of your process, and like focusing on, okay, well, what do they need? What do they want? And writing from that place. And I'm not saying at all, like, of course, we're not disregarding our reader, But the unbound writing approach is quite different, because what I recommend is that you start with you, and that's what we've done this week. We've started with your story, your experience. Like, that is the starting point. And once you're clear on like those core themes, those golden threads that are running through your that have run through your life, like your specific magic, your medicine, your message, then we really tune into the reader journey. So we're starting with like what feels most important for you. And when we do that, we know we can trust that there are people out in the world, your readers, who are really going to resonate with that. Okay. So this is a key part of the unbound writing process. Like I said, it's to activate transformation in your readers, to create a space where they can experience a sense of movement from one state to another. Yeah. So, how do we get to be intentional about that? So, we can start off really, really simply, and we'll come back to this question. But what I invite you to start reflecting on is to fill in the following statement. So, in my book, I'm taking my reader from where they are at the beginning to wherever you want them to be at the end. So, I was speaking to somebody. I won't use that example. I don't want to use someone else's example. Let me use one of my books as an example. So if I went with my first book, Heal You're in a Good Girl, it'd be I'm taking my reader from maybe perfectionism to feeling unbound. Like, just using one or two words to describe the journey, like keeping it really simple, like really high level, like a broad overview. Where are you taking your reader from and to? And then we can go into more detail. So if you know what that is, like, I don't want you to overthink it. Like, you'll get to tune into more clarity as you move forwards in your process. But what comes up immediately as you start to reflect on your reader journey? What words, what qualities, what comes to mind? This is very much a starting point. Where is your reader when they first come to your book? What are they likely to be experiencing? And then what would you hope them to be feeling, experiencing when they come towards the end of your book? Oh, I've got an itchy nose. Let me know in the comments. Let me know. I'll continue itching my nose. So whatever you have, and like I said, you can continue to like percolate on that. It's something like, this is what I'm going to invite you to reflect on for today's kind of exercise. But once you have a sense of the reader journey, and this is something we can go much more deeply into, like how you get to take them on the journey, or what are the different stages. But there are different ways that you get to do that. So one of the ways you can take your reader on this journey is through the form of your own story, or maybe the story of others if you are sharing like case studies in your book or different examples. Say you're writing a memoir, like you will be taking the reader on a journey probably purely through your own story. And it's very likely that the journey you're taking the reader on will mirror like an aspect of your journey. And to be honest, that's probably always going to be true. Like, most of the time we are writing for like a younger version of ourselves. even if it's like you, like a couple of years ago. Yeah. And this is a really key point when it comes to writing a book that people really want to read. Like, if this is a book that you would have found beneficial at any point in the past, then you can trust that this is a book that people, your people, the right people, will really want to read. So you get to take your reader on this journey. Like I say, one of the ways you get to do that is through your own story. And that's probably the most powerful way. Like, that's why we started with this on day one, because that's how we get to be transported, like through the stories of others. That's what is going to spark off insight, a perspective shift for your reader in the most powerful way without them even realizing. A lot of the time we can receive information, inspiration, activation much more powerfully through stories. It's how we're wired. So that definitely will want to be an aspect of your book. And of course, if you're writing fiction, then yeah, you are taking your reader, you're still taking your reader on a journey. You're doing that through the form of a fictional story. So that's the first way you get to take your reader on a journey. The second way, it, you could be guiding them through some kind of process with different steps or stages. So, say you are doing some kind of work with clients. Maybe you're a coach or a healer or a therapist, um, or you do some other kind of work with clients. You most likely have some kind of process that you take them through, whether that's like in one session or a series of sessions, like however you work, or maybe you have a program or a retreat or a workshop. Or maybe you have been through some kind of process yourself and you can look back and see, like, these were the different stages that I moved through. So in your book, what you can be doing is be talking about these different stages or steps for your reader. And you can definitely illustrate those with stories, like your story or the stories of maybe clients that you've worked with, like I say, using case studies. But that is another way that you get to take your reader on a journey. And the third way is through talking about different themes or ideas to shift their perspective. So creating a perspective shift for your reader. So it's not necessarily like taking them through a set process with different steps and stages, but there are certain core themes that you're bringing through in your book and maybe talking about them in a different way than maybe your reader has heard or seen before. And that creates a shift in their perspective. And that's another way to take them on a journey. So, Hazel, you're saying from fear and anxiety to absolute certainty and trust of self. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. So, Hazel, you're saying that that's the journey you're taking your reader on. And how are you choosing to do that? And I know I have a pretty good sense of it because you are in Birth Your Transformational Book. But this is the thing, once we know, like, the overview of the journey you want to take your reader on, which is, like I said, most likely going to mirror the journey that you've been on personally. Like, how are you choosing to do that? So you can choose to focus on one of those ways to do it, like either through your story, through taking them through a process with different stages or steps, or talking about different themes or ideas to shift their perspective, or you can combine all of these, like use a little bit of each. So, do you have a sense of what approach you would like to use? Like, which one feels most powerful for you? I would always recommend weaving in at least an element of your story. And you will know that through what we covered on day one. Yeah, you want to be bringing you through in in your book, definitely. But let me give you an example. So with my third book, Unbound Writing, which is all about how to write the transformational book you're really here to write, I began by really setting the scene for my reader. And this is always what you want to do at the beginning of your book. Um, I say always. I'm a bit hesitant to use like always because I don't know. Maybe there would be times when you wouldn't. I did have a conversation with a writer the other day, and she's like, "Oh, I just want it to be really mysterious. Like that's what I want for my reader." So maybe you wouldn't be so clear about setting the scene for your reader if that was your intention. But generally, you are going to want to like help them land with your book. So letting them know they're in the right place. You're the right person to be taking them on this journey. You might talk a little bit about what they've experienced up until now, what's drawn them to the book, and letting them know a little bit about the journey ahead. So with Unbound Writing, I was doing that, and I was also sharing elements of my story, like to really create connection with the reader at the beginning of the book. Then I moved into talking about some of the key themes of Unbound Writing. Okay, so these were things like harnessing or writing in alignment with your cyclical nature. So it's not really a step of a process, but it's just an awareness for the reader to hold. It's like, oh, okay, I get to write in a cyclical way. It's okay for me to have these ebbs and flows in my writing process. So that was one of the themes that I wrote about. Was another one was bringing pleasure into the process. Um, Again, that's not like a stage that you move through, but it's a theme that I wanted to talk about. Another one was community. Um, Shadow integration, which is what we were talking about yesterday, like alchemizing fears and doubts. So, I was talking about some of those core themes and then like to create a perspective shift. And what that did was really letting the reader know, okay, this is a bit of a different approach, maybe to, ones that I've experienced before around writing a book. And then I moved into talking about like the different stages of the unbound writing process. So, um, committing to your book writing journey, conceiving the specific book that's wanting to come through you, creating your book, and then we talked about community, creating community around your writing. And all through, actually, I was weaving in not just my own story, but the story of the experiences of other writers. So I was using all three of those methods to take my reader on a journey. So Eloise, let's see what you're saying. So you are taking your reader from dependency on the food and diet industries to total freedom of mind and reconnection with the already complete inner self. Whew, dang, that took a while. Overthinkers, not so anonymous right here. Well, we all are. We are conditioned, we are taught to overthink everything. So, like, a huge part of this whole journey of writing a book is unbinding from this tendency to overthink it. And absolutely, when it comes to writing a book, like I said at the beginning, on day one, it's what we tend to do. We go up into our heads because that's what we've been taught to do. It's what we were taught to do at school. We weren't taught to trust our intuition or that inner knowing. We weren't taught to trust ourselves. So, as part of this transformational journey that we get to go on, like for me, like this is a process of cultivating like radical self-trust in yourself, in you as the transformational author that you are, that you're here to be. So, yeah, you're definitely not alone with the overthinking, Eloise. And I love, I love the way you've described your book. Just checking my notes. So, anything else bubbling up around that? Anyone else want to share any questions about the reader journey? And what you can do, a really powerful exercise, is to think back over some of the books that you have found most powerful. And again, we talked about that on day one, I think, like books that have made the biggest impact on you. And just reflect a little bit on, okay, well, why was that so powerful? How did that book take me on a journey? What was the journey that that book took me on? And how did the author do that? Like, I'm always looking at this now when I'm reading a book. It's like, oh, this is interesting. Like, how they're structuring it, like, what the flow is. And for me, if I'm reading a book and there's like no stories in it, like no personal experiences, or no, what was I going to say? If it's just information, like however powerful that information is, for me, I tend to switch off a little bit. Like it doesn't really take me on a journey. I need, and I would suggest most people need, those stories, those examples to really bring the writing, bring the journey to life. So that's something I've absolutely noticed for myself. But, you know, it's different for all of us. So really take some time to reflect on the books that you found most powerful and how that author took you on a journey. Like, it's not about copying anyone, but there will be like certain ways that different writers do this. And then you can get to take inspiration from that. Hazel, you say, yes, the unbound writing approach helps so much with trusting yourself. I love the talking to your book visualization that has been so powerful. Yeah, thanks, Hazel. We haven't spoken about that this week, but one of the most powerful things you can do on your book writing journey, particularly at the beginning, is to connect with the essence, the energy, the spirit of your book. So we get to be in this process of co-creation with our books. Um, so it's experiencing your book as an essence, an energy, a spirit, a personality of its own, and knowing that like you don't have to do this alone. So this is something again that we do in Birth Your Transformational Book. There's a connecting with your book meditation, and like this is the whole a whole core piece really at the beginning of the book writing journey. So, you know, at this stage it could be powerful to tune like connect with your book and say like what is the journey you want to take the reader on. Like, you don't have to figure it all out on your own. Eloise, there are two amazing ways for coaches to help others. One, asking powerful questions, and two, telling stories. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And again, like that's a really powerful way to be taking your reader on a journey. Like you have the content of the book, but maybe for each chapter at the end or you know throughout the chapter you are asking your reader questions, like giving them something to reflect on. So there are so many different ways you get to do this. Like you really get to have fun with it. I was speaking with a one-to-one client last night, and she'd been getting a bit jammed up with some sections of her book because there were some bits that felt really creative and fun and where her like natural voice could come through, and there were these other bits that were quite foundational, but she didn't feel like she could be so creative with them. But actually, part of what she does is she runs workshops around these different skills. Um, so it's like, I know that when she's running a workshop, that her approach is very natural. She brings humor through, she uses different examples. So my advice to her was, imagine, like, rather than you're kind of just sitting writing a book on your own, that you're actually speaking to a group of people, like you're holding space for a workshop. Like, how would you approach this, and bring that through as you're writing? Like, write in the book as if you were speaking to somebody in a workshop and introducing them to this different idea, theme, skill. And that totally shifted it. It gave her permission to be much more creative and natural around it. So, today's exercise is to reflect on the journey you want to take your reader on, to complete that statement. In my book, I'm taking my reader from to, yeah. And it's really powerful for us all here in this group to see it as well. Like, I love hearing about your different books. And I know, as like each of you hearing little snippets about each other's books, you'll be like, oh, I really want to read that one. So this is probably most likely an audience of at least some of the people here are your prospective readers. So, that's a wonderful opportunity as well to start creating connection around your book. Oh, Eloise, I'm glad you love that. So remember, like today, this is the last live. Hazel, you hope your book is a workshop. Well, absolutely. That's a whole other piece. Our book gets to be the foundation for so much more if we allow it to be. Yeah. So once you have your book, then it gets to be maybe a workshop or a retreat or a program. Like everything I'm sharing here was initially, or a lot of it initially, in my, well, actually, there are pieces from each of my books that come through in these kind of trainings and everything that I hold space for. So I say this in the new book, The Abundant Author. Your book gets to be a seed that you plant, and then it gets to grow into, like, who knows what. There's so much potential there. So, it can either go both ways. Like, maybe you've been running workshops, programs, retreats, and then that inspires the book. Or maybe you start with the book and then it becomes like workshop, retreat, program, one-to-one, whatever it is. Whatever it is. But whatever you are doing, like whether it's a workshop, whether it's a program, um, or a book, like we've been talking about, there's a journey that you're taking people on. So that is the invitation today. Really reflect on that. And then when you are coming to write your book, like you have that guiding you. Hazel, can't wait to read it. Your book, I mean. I got it. October, it is coming. Like, I'm so close. I've been going through it throughout May, just reading through, like, adding a few final pieces in. So we are getting close to passing it over for editing. So a reminder, this group will remain open until Tuesday. I'm going to come in at the same time, 2 p.m. UK time on Monday, to do a Q&A, just wrapping everything up. So if you've got any questions, please do post them here in the group. You can pop them below this video, or you can create a different post and I will come in and answer those all on Monday. And like I said, if you want to continue the journey, then I very, very much invite you to come and join us in Birth Your Transformational Book. I will share the link it's in here in the comments, but I'll also share it in the description of this video. And if you've got any questions at all about that, please do feel free to pop me a message. Like, really, really happy to answer any questions personally in that way. And just thank you so much for being part of this week. It has been so powerful. It's always powerful for me. Oh, thanks, Eloise, for saying that. It's a safe space. Yeah, I mean, it's a safe space. It's a brave space. Like, the invitation is always to, this is a journey for courageous hearts. And you've all got one of those, I know already, from what's been shared in the group. So thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much. Um, oh, thank you, Hazel, for saying it's a great community. I love that. But you've got a taste of it from this. Just I love how supportive everyone is here in this space, like all the unbound writing spaces. So thank you so much for being part of it. Yeah, so I will leave it there for today and I will see you soon. I'll be back here on Monday, and of course, I'll be in the group in the meantime as well. All right, my loves, here's to writing the book that you are called to write and actually releasing it into the world. Like, that's what we want to see, because your book is really going to make a difference. Really, really is. All right, have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.